For centuries, the Jedi had fought to keep Kyber crystals sacred, ensuring that their immense power was only used for peace. The Sith, in contrast, had long sought to harness Kyber crystals for ultimate destruction. Though the Sith had failed for generations to fully weaponize Kyber crystals, one Sith Lord would succeed where others had failed: Emperor Palpatine. With the rise of the Galactic Empire, Palpatine's vision for Kyber crystals went far beyond lightsabers. He sought to weaponize them on a scale the galaxy had never seen before. Unlike the Sith Lords of the past, who relied on alchemy and rituals, Palpatine had something even more dangerous: advanced technology, unlimited resources, and complete control of the galaxy. Palpatine knew that the Jedi had spent centuries hiding and guarding Kyber crystals. But with the Jedi wiped out after Order 66, there was no one left to stop him. His scientists and engineers immediately began mining Kyber crystals on an industrial scale, tearing them from the sacred locations where Jedi had once gathered. These crystals, once revered as living conduits of the Force, became nothing more than fuel for the Empire's growing war machine. The most infamous use of Kyber crystals in history came in the construction of the Death Star. This was the Sith's ultimate dream, a weapon capable of ending all resistance in the galaxy, fueled by the very power the Jedi had sworn to protect. The Death Star's superlaser was powered by an enormous network of Kyber crystals, amplified and focused to unleash an unimaginable destructive force. When the Death Star fired upon a planet, the Kyber-powered superlaser didn't just destroy, it disintegrated entire worlds, reducing them to nothingness in seconds. The Death Star project was heavily reliant on Kyber crystal extraction, and the Empire began strip-mining planets rich in Kyber deposits. One of the first and most significant targets was Jedha, an ancient world deeply tied to the Force. Jedha had once been a center of Jedi teachings, with pilgrims from across the galaxy traveling there to seek enlightenment. But under Imperial rule, it became little more than a Kyber crystal mining operation. The Empire devastated Jedha's sacred sites, tearing apart its landscape to extract the largest Kyber crystals ever found. This brutal operation ultimately led to the events of Rogue One, where the first test of the Death Star's superlaser was conducted, obliterating the holy city of Jedha. Kyber crystal mining did not stop with Jedha. The Empire also targeted Ilum, the same planet where Jedi younglings had once undergone their rite of passage, the Gathering. After the fall of the Jedi, the Empire seized control of Ilum, digging deep into its frozen core to extract every last Kyber crystal. This mass excavation not only stripped Ilum of its natural beauty, but would eventually reshape the planet into something far worse: the Starkiller Base, the First Order's own version of the Death Star, capable of destroying entire star systems. Not all Kyber crystals were used for destruction. Some were taken for study, experimented on by Imperial scientists trying to unlock the full potential of Kyber energy. Chief among these scientists was Galen Erso, the reluctant architect of the Death Star's superweapon. Erso, originally an expert in energy research, was forced by the Empire to refine the Kyber-powered superlaser, but he secretly sabotaged the project by building a fatal weakness into the Death Star's reactor, a weakness that his daughter, Jyn Erso, and the Rebel Alliance would later exploit. Even after the destruction of the first Death Star, the Empire continued its quest for Kyber crystals. The construction of the second Death Star required even more Kyber energy, though it was never completed before the fall of the Empire. However, the Sith's ambition for Kyber-powered weapons did not die with Palpatine. The remnants of the Empire and later the First Order continued their obsession with Kyber crystals. The First Order, following in the Empire's footsteps, constructed Starkiller Base, a superweapon built directly into the hollowed-out remains of Ilum. This time, instead of merely channeling Kyber energy into a focused laser, the First Order developed a method to absorb an entire star's energy and unleash it as a system-wide destruction wave. This was the next evolution of the Sith tree: complete domination of the galaxy through Kyber-powered annihilation. The use of Kyber crystals in superweapons represents one of the darkest chapters in galactic history. What was once considered a sacred and living part of the Force became a tool of death and destruction. The Jedi had always feared this possibility, and their worst nightmares came true under the reign of the Sith. Despite all of this, Kyber crystals were never meant to be used in such a way. They were not created to destroy, but to connect Force users to the living energy of the galaxy. And even in the darkest times, some would still seek to return them to their rightful place. Kyber crystals in the Rebellion and beyond. The destruction of the first Death Star was a monumental victory for the Rebel Alliance, but it did not end the Empire's obsession with Kyber crystals. Even after the defeat at Yavin, Imperial scientists continued their research into Kyber energy, hoping to create even more devastating weapons. The rebellion quickly realized that if they were to truly defeat the Empire, they would need to cut off its access to kyber crystals. One of the first major operations against Imperial kyber mining occurred on Edu, a remote world where the Empire had established a secret research facility. This was where Galen Erso, the lead scientist behind the Death Star's superlaser, was being held. Rebel spies learned that Erso had been working with kyber crystals to refine the Empire's weapons technology, and a squadron was dispatched to assassinate him. However, Erso had secretly been working against the Empire, planting a flaw in the Death Star that would eventually lead to its destruction. His death on Edu was a tragic loss, but his work ensured that kyber crystals would not remain under the Empire's control forever. Another key battle over kyber crystals took place on Lothal, a planet that had long been ignored by the galaxy but held deep force connections. The Empire had been secretly mining kyber crystals beneath Lothal's surface, using them to fuel experimental weapons. The rebel leader Hera Syndulla led a mission to disrupt these mining operations, and Jedi-in-training Ezra Bridger played a crucial role in stopping the Empire's experiments. During one mission, a massive kyber crystal was destroyed, unleashing a catastrophic explosion that obliterated an entire Star Destroyer, proving just how volatile and dangerous kyber energy could be when mishandled. Beyond military operations, the rebellion also sought to preserve kyber crystals for future Jedi. With the fall of the Jedi Order, many ancient Jedi temples and relics had been lost, and kyber crystals had become incredibly rare. Some Jedi survivors and Force-sensitive rebels, such as Ahsoka Tano, worked to recover what remained. Ahsoka, who had purified 2 Sith-corrupted kyber crystals to create her white lightsabers, understood the importance of saving these sacred crystals from destruction. Even after the Empire fell, kyber crystals remained a powerful resource. During the era of the New Republic, several surviving Imperial warlords attempted to reclaim lost kyber crystals, believing that they could restore their former power. Some even searched for the remnants of Palpatine's kyber hordes hidden away in vaults scattered across the galaxy. Luke Skywalker, in his efforts to rebuild the Jedi Order, sought out kyber crystals for a new generation of Jedi. Unlike the old Jedi Order, which had relied heavily on Ilum, Luke ventured to forgotten worlds in search of hidden kyber crystals. Legends tell of Luke finding an ancient Jedi temple where he discovered lost kyber crystals, using them to craft new lightsabers for future Jedi. The First Order, emerging from the shadows of the defeated Empire, continued the dark legacy of kyber weaponization. With Ilum having been transformed into Starkiller Base, the First Order now possessed the single largest concentration of kyber crystals in the galaxy. They refined their technology beyond the Death Star, creating a superweapon capable of draining an entire star's energy and releasing it as a cataclysmic blast that could annihilate multiple planets at once. This was the ultimate perversion of the Sith's long-standing ambition. Kyber crystals, no longer just tools of war, but instruments of complete planetary extinction. Despite the First Order's efforts, there were still those who sought to protect the legacy of the Jedi and preserve the true purpose of kyber crystals. Rey, the last Jedi of her era, constructed her own lightsaber using a golden-hued kyber crystal, symbolizing a new beginning for the Jedi Order. This was a reminder that kyber crystals, though used for destruction in the past, could still be instruments of hope, peace, and balance.